So, family and friends, remember on push-ups when Drake rapped that Kendrick was not in no big three because Travis had him wiped down, Savage had him wiped down, and SZA had him wiped down? Well, it looks like Kendrick and SZA are now teaming up to wipe Drake down, and they're doing it by going on tour together. Now, there's a little bit of trolling at Drake within this whole tour arrangement, and we're going to get into that later in this video. But one notable thing is that this is a stadium tour. Kendrick, aside from Jay-Z with Beyonce, could be the first rapper in history to go on a stadium tour. And when I say that, yes, I know there's been some rappers that have done stadiums at one-off shows, but no rapper has ever done an entire tour leg where it's all just stadiums. Travis Scott has done a couple stadiums. Drake, for his OVO Fest, I believe, does the Rogers Center, which is a stadium. But his tours are all arenas. Stadiums usually hold a capacity of like anywhere from 50 to 80,000 people. Arenas hold more like 20,000 people. So that's why you'll see a lot of bigger names doing double nights if they're performing at arenas, because the demand is there for, like, let's say a 30 to 40,000 person venue to see them perform. However, the demand is not there for them to sell out an entire like 50,000 person stadium. So that's why Drake, he was saying in leaked text messages with his ex-girlfriend that he was on Slave to Live Nation mode back in 2023, because he went on his tour It's All a Blur with 21 Savage and J. Cole, and he was not doing stadiums. He was doing arenas. I actually saw him live about a year and a half ago, and he had to add so many dates. He did like 80 different dates because, like, let's say in Los Angeles, he wasn't able to sell out the Dodger Stadium, which holds like 56,000 people, but he was able to sell out the Staples Center, which holds about 20,000 people. He was able to do that about 2 nights, so 40,000 people total, but the demand maybe wasn't necessarily there for him to sell out all 56,000 seats in a bigger venue. That forces him to then have to add more dates to fill up the demand, and that's when he becomes a slave to Live Nation. But it's also a factor of performance. Like, when you're performing at a stadium, you need to be on your A game. You can't just be like, having the crowd try to chant every word of your song. You got to be singing. You got to have like some choreography going on. Not you necessarily. I don't think Kendrick's going to be dancing, but backup dancers and all that. I saw Kendrick live a couple years ago, and he puts on a real show. Like, there's, a million different backup dancers. There's different stage designs, different scenes throughout the show. There's no backtrack BS that all these rappers use. Like, not to glaze too hard, but if there is any rapper that is stadium status, it's definitely Kendrick, because he knows how to actually perform. The breath control, the stage design, everything about the show can definitely be tailored to a stadium. Now, I don't know about you guys. Let me know in the comments, but like, I know Kendrick and SZA, they came up on TDE together. They have a lot of songs together. Like, their chemistry is great on record, but I don't know how much their fan bases actually like intercept. Like, I like SZA's music, but I'm not listening to it religiously. And if I were to go to a Kendrick show, I feel like an opener like Baby Keem makes a lot more sense considering the type of music that his fan base, listens to. But I could be very wrong on that. I just don't see the interception. But let me know in the comments what you guys think, if you think it's a good mashup between Kendrick and SZA. And the tour is called the Grand National Tour, so I'm assuming Kendrick's going to close out the show, but they'll probably do something where, Kendrick comes on, then SZA does a little set, then Kendrick comes on again, then SZA does another set, then Kendrick comes back, like a back and forth, instead of it being like, SZA opening for Kendrick. There's a lot of rumors also that Doechii is going to be the opener of the tour, and I think that makes a little more sense than SZA opening for Kendrick, but I mean, I'm here for it. The choice does make sense in a lot of ways with all their collaborations on GNX. Their collaboration, All the Stars, also being both of their almost biggest record of all time, also makes this link up make sense. And while Kendrick and SZA are going to be touring Canada and the United States, Drake is going to be taking himself way out to Australia on his own tour, the I Need a Max Wynn tour. And funny enough, his tour is going to start on the 9th of February, the same day that Kendrick will be performing at the Super Bowl. Drake will be doing arenas like he usually does, a couple double nights. There was allegedly around 200,000 people in the queue waiting for tickets for Drake's show, so the demand is definitely there. I believe it's there for Kendrick and SZA's tour as well. Apparently, tickets went from being like $40 all the way in the back, because you got to remember, again, when you're talking about a stadium, like, all the way in the nosebleeds is like really, really far. Like, you could barely see anything. So $40 for tickets like that makes sense, but apparently they sold out so quick that resellers are now selling those same tickets for like $300, which I absolutely hate. COVID and Taylor Swift together have simultaneously destroyed the concert industry. It's terrible. And Ticketmaster, you got to include them in there too, because Ticketmaster is like a monopoly. You got to go on Ticketmaster to get tickets when they first drop. With COVID taking away live events for several different years, the demand for events went up like crazy. And then with Taylor Swift, I don't know what she did with her Eras tour, but it kind of messed up the whole market where scalpers thought it was cool to sell tickets for like $33,000. So now you got people selling tickets at crazy prices. They're making whole businesses out of just like flipping tickets for insane prices. So now if you want to see your favorite artist, it's going to cost you a lot. But I got a little hack for you guys. All right. I got a Rapaholics hack that I'm going to tell you if you're ballsy enough to do it. It's not really ballsy, but if you want to be in this dynamic, basically, instead of buying 2 tickets, you buy 1. And the same seats will be a lot cheaper because obviously most people go to a concert with someone else. And that's why a set of 2 tickets is usually jacked up in price. But if you just want 1 ticket and the seller is desperate to sell that 1 ticket that they have left, then they're going to jack the price way down. The demand is way down because who wants to just go 1 person to a concert? So if you change the setting to requesting just 1 ticket, the same seats will be a lot cheaper than if you get 2 tickets. And if you're going with a friend or whatever, you just do that same trick for the row behind. So that's what me and my buddy did. Basically, like he bought a ticket right behind me in the row behind, and then I was in the row in front. So the tickets, instead of being like $250, were like $150, something like that. This was for Chris Brown, and he's an incredible performer. Side note, I know he might not be the best guy, but like he is by far the best performer of our generation. And I mean, you should have heard the crowd at that concert. Like, I've been to a fair amount of concerts, small venues, big venues. I've seen everyone from Kanye, Lil Wayne, Future, Drake, Kendrick, Cole, Young Thug, Travis Scott, The Weeknd, Jay-Z twice, Chance the Rapper in his prime, Migos in their prime, Designer in his prime. I wouldn't recommend going to one of his shows, but I say all that to say Chris Brown, by far the best performer I have ever witnessed on a stage in my life. And, it's a lot of women at that concert. Women, they have a higher pitch voice typically. So when they're screaming these songs, like that arena could have made you go deaf. Regardless, that's the hack. So if you're trying to go see Kendrick and Siza live, I suggest you and whoever you're going with look at the 2 rows behind each other and get individual tickets. They're going to be a lot cheaper. But a couple questions. Number 1, will Kendrick be performing all of these diss records at these shows? We saw him do 616 in LA, Euphoria, and Not Like Us 6 times at the Pop Out concert. You could say like, oh, that was like in the middle of the beef, so it made sense that he did that. The same way Drake performed back to back at his OVO Fest, right in the middle of that beef with Meek Mill. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe he went to Philly a couple months later and performed back to back there, and the crowd was insane. Now, why I said Kendrick is trolling Drake is because Kendrick and Siza are going to be making a stop at the Rogers Center in Toronto. That is somewhere that, besides the OVO Fest, Drake has never performed that on his actual tours. So it's funny that on Kendrick's own tour, he's doing a bigger venue than Drake ever has in his own city. Talk about, getting more love in the city that you're from. But will we be seeing him do Not Like Us in Toronto, in the Rogers Center, a bigger stadium than Drake has ever performed at on any of his tours in his entire career? That would be the ultimate troll. And the last time a diss track was performed at the Rogers Center was with Drake himself performing back to back. And that was a scary time, man. Like, wow, what a difference in how he performed during that beef and how he performed during this one. With this Kendrick beef, like when Kendrick dropped like that, Drake was still on tour. He was going out telling the crowd, my back is strong. I'm 10 toes down. I feel better than ever. I'm charged up. I'm ready to go. I'm going home. You know what I have to do. Then he gave us a lawsuit, basically. But with that Meek beef, man, Drake was on fire. He dropped If You're Reading This Is Too Late, my favorite Drake project. Then he went back to back with the diss tracks, completely making everyone forget for a short period of time about the ghostwriting rumors. Then he performed back to back at the OVO Fest, plastering Meek Mill memes all over the screen. And at the end of the track, he's like, they're not ready for that three-peat. And I mean, I wish we got that three-peat, but we did get What a Time to Be Alive about a month after that. Then we got Views. Like, those 12 months between, or 14 months in between If You're Reading This Is Too Late and Views, was definitely the most legendary time period in Drake's career. Like, let's show Drake a little bit of love, all right? Like, that 2015 to 2016 era where he dropped like 3 projects basically in the span of a year, 2 diss tracks, destroyed Meek Mill, moonwalked over those ghostwriting allegations, which, I mean, weren't really allegations, they were the truth. But those ghostwriters were cooking during that era, man. Like, that's my favorite Drake era by far. And it makes you wonder, is Kendrick gonna come out with some memes when he performs, or if he performs, Not Like Us? I mean, the album cover itself was pretty much a meme. It was Drake's house with a bunch of those S Offender pins all around the house. I think there's no doubt Kendrick does perform Not Like Us on this tour. Does he perform it at the Super Bowl? Well, that's another question. But I mean, Drake's whole lawsuit is based off, the success of Not Like Us was artificially created. No one was actually listening to it. It was bots, etc. We'll see how many tickets Kendrick really sells out in all these stadiums to know if that success translates outside of the internet. And just to show Drake a little bit more love too, I didn't think that this would turn into a Drake glazing video, but why not? We're here right now. It's almost a new year. New year, new me. So a lot of people talking about the fact that there was 200,000 people in the queue waiting to buy tickets to Drake's Australia concert, and all the Aubrey Graham glizzy gobblers were saying, oh, look, you guys thought that Kendrick destroyed Drake's career, but look, he's still selling out tickets. He still has 200,000 people waiting in the queue. People still love him. And yes, people still love Drake. The internet does not dictate real life. I can make 200,000 videos crapping on Drake. It doesn't mean that 200,000 people won't be waiting in the queue to buy tickets to his next concert. Now, are those, hip-hop purists, real hip-hop fans? Who knows? But Drake will always have success, especially with his back catalog, all the number ones he's racked up in the process of his career. Like, he could tour just off that 2015, 2016 era alone that I was talking about earlier. People will always love Drake's old music. The question is, Kendrick pointed out a lot of flaws of not only Drake's character and what he stands for, but also what he brings to the table in terms of his influence on the culture. There's a lot of negatives to the formulaic, generic music that Drake continuously pumps out, the vulturistic approach that he takes to snagging other people's cultures and sounds. And there are some serious allegations, aside from the PDF file stuff, that he will maybe not have to address, but definitely have to wiggle out of in his future music if he wants to completely erase the stain that Kendrick left on his legacy and be in the good graces of hip-hop fans in the future the same way he was in the past. And the behavior of his goons is not making it any better for him. You had his Crash Out Dummy Top 5 threatening Kendrick about coming to Toronto, saying he better not come with cops. But it's like, what do you think he's going to do? You think it makes him hard if he doesn't come with cops? Like, he's going to be on a tour bus with Siza. You think they're not going to pull up with a million different security guards, especially to Toronto? You want to know how many cops Drake had around him when he was in Philadelphia? They had to basically escort him out of that arena like he was the frickin' president. And even one of Drake's biggest glazers throughout this whole beef, DJ Academics, did say something that was very accurate when he said Kendrick is able to do stadiums because he puts on, like I said before in this video, a real show. Choreography, different scenes, actually rapping his verses with no backtrack, like a real performance, because you're performing for 80,000 people. Like, there's a lot you got to do to not only keep them engaged, but make some of the biggest venues in the world feel electric. It's a lot easier to kind of half-ass a performance in an arena because the crowd could sing along with you. Drake, for example, had a whole set where it was just like a DJ playing his different songs, and he was like next to the DJ just drinking and stuff. He wasn't even performing. And that can pass in an arena. It can't pass in a stadium. And that's what Academics was saying, that basically, Drake just sings along with the crowd. He doesn't actually know his own words. He doesn't actually perform things without a backtrack.
Drake or anyone sucks at performing. I watched Kendrick's show. The man has a f***ing amazing show. Like, you could tell it's really choreographed, and you don't see that from rappers, especially rappers with hits. I went to Drake's show. Then it's a sing-along. It's a party. The nigga can't even sing his own songs. I seen that nigga Kendrick. He trying to play the piano. He's over here doing some type of the black version of Donald Trump dance. Yeah, he had like 15 people come on stage. They're mad organized. They look like a militia. Like, that plays good. That looked like some Beyonce Renaissance shit. That's what she did in the stadium.
And aside from that, I was kind of hoping that Kendrick would perform on June 16th in LA for this concert, like 6/16 in LA, but he's not. I'm very curious how this Toronto show is going to go. There were rumors that Drake shut down the shows of multiple TDE artists in Toronto, like Schoolboy Q and Sir, back at the height of this beef, because he was a partial owner in the venue that they were supposed to perform in. But I don't think he's shutting down no Kendrick show. I think the Blue Jays even tweeted out that Kendrick would be performing in their stadium. And if the baseball team of Drake's hometown even starts going at him, then I don't know who he has on his side. But let me know in the comments, What was the best concert you've ever been to? Who do you think is the best performer you've ever seen live? Are you going to go check out Drake in Australia or Kendrick at one of his stops with Siza? Will he be giving us a new album before this tour? I did a whole video breaking down all the clues that he's given us about a second album coming, so check that out because there is a lot of hints that another album's coming. These concert tickets are already going up, like Taylor Swift shows, like $3,000, $5,000 for seats, and that's just ridiculous. But let me know if you guys are attending the show, what you're excited to see from Kendrick in the future, and I will catch you guys in the next one.
There's a lot of little nuggets in both of their disses that if it wasn't for these breakdowns, and salute to, guys like this, Rapaholics, because I think they directly get it.